Today, in our 24th lecture, let us discuss about Asia. Let us talk about the various impacts which are realized as far as climate change is concerned over Asia, the risks of these impacts, and what are the adaptation options we have. Now, we can perhaps try to understand why Asia. So, why Asia? Because Asia is the largest continent. It is surrounded by 3 of the 5 oceans. It has given home, or it is home to the third tower, or you say the third pole in terms of the Hindu Kush Himalaya. So that is why discussing about the various aspects in terms of impact, risk and adaptation over Asia is meaningful and essential. And most of the participants of this particular course, I believe, are from the Asian subcontinent. So, friends, what we will be discussing are the various concepts with respect to the observations. First is, it has been seen that there is increase in temperature and decrease in precipitation over Asia. Second, the various attributions and detections of observed changes. So, third is, we will talk about the impacts with respect to urban, with respect to the food and agriculture production, and with respect to the health and well-being in terms of the diseases. Then we will move on to understand the shrinkage of glaciers and leading to water stress in Hindu Kush Himalaya. The fifth is, we will talk about various risk and adaptations as far as the agriculture is concerned, and also we will see for a few selected cities across the world. And towards the end, we will try to understand what are the various enablers in terms of accepting or in terms of adopting the in terms of adaptation to this change or climate change. And particularly we have picked governance as one of the examples, or as an indicator or as an example to study this as far as the enablers and barriers to adaptation over Asian region. So, what has been put before you is a depiction of Asia. So, there are terrestrial ecoregions, large marine ecosystems, and major fishing areas of Asia have been shown. And on the upper right side, or the right hand side, you can see the various regions as far as the South Asia, West Asia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, North Asia and East Asia is concerned. So, we have various forests. You can see the tropical forest, particularly tropical and subtropical broadleaf, tropical and subtropical dry and moist. So, differentiated both by moisture and dryness. So, you get moist and dry broadleaf forest, both tropic and subtropics. Then moving on to tropical and subtropical coniferous, and we also have temperate broadleaf mixed forest and temperate coniferous forest. And coming up towards you can say towards the higher latitude or towards high elevated mountain, we get the boreal forest or taiga forest, and also we have various tropical, subtropical grasslands, savanna, tundra, shrublands, and all others. So, this is a depiction as far as the ecoregions are concerned, and also we have the division is shown with respect to the Asia sub-region boundary, FAO fishing area boundary, and also large marine ecosystem boundary. So, this slide gives an impression that what is the spread of Asia, most of us know, but with respect to the distribution as far as the various forest types is concerned in the pretext of ecoregion, we got a feel that how much of these forests are present or are lying. And we also see towards upper part of the eastern Russia and those areas, we get the uh, tundra region. And also you can see the various parts of the southern side. You can see the Indian Sea, particularly western and eastern Indian Sea. And on the southeastern side, you can see the Pacific, both in terms of northeast, in terms of northwest and west central. And on the upper side, we have the Arctic Sea. So this is how it is surrounded by sea on the north and the south and southwestern side, and various what do you say, landmass. Let us move on to the observations. So as far as the observation is concerned over Asia, there have been substantial how do you say, increase as far as the surface air temperature since the beginning of the 20th century, substantial increase. However, based on this, the Asian countries are experiencing hot summer, resulting rise in temperature leading to receiving or experiencing of hot summer. That means you need or you invest more energy. So increase in energy demand for cooling. So at a rapid rate it is going. So as temperature rises, we switch on our ACs, we switch on our other cooling devices, so that leads to energy consumption. And also in this region, the population growth is growing faster. Then the second point is with respect to precipitation. As we know, there have been a decrease in precipitation that influence energy demand as well as desalination. Underground water pumping and other energy intensive methods are increasingly used for water supply. So if there is deficit in the precipitation, then what will happen? Over the Asian region, largely we are using the underground water in using pumping methods, and also other energy intensive methods. So it was available, precipitation was available with a less intensive way. But from other storage space, from lake or nearby river, if we are pumping this water to fulfill our needs, that means we are making it more and more energy intensive, and that is increasing because of decrease in terms of availability of the precipitation. Then coming to the next one is this Asian terrestrial ecosystem change is driven by global warming, precipitation and Asian monsoon alteration. So if we try to understand why this decrease in precipitation over Asia, so it is because of primarily because of the global warming, the alteration in the Asian monsoon pattern, and also the thawing of the permafrost and various extreme weather events such as the dust storms. So these are the major events that are the drivers that leads to decrease in the precipitation over the Asian region. The third point, so we covered the temperature, the precipitation. Now let us move on to the sea level rise. So coastal habitats of Asia are diverse, and impact of climate change, including rising temperature, oceanic acidification and sea level rise, has brought to a lot of negative effects to the services and the livelihood of people depending on it. So we know along the coast, we every time give the example of Bangladesh because it is the most affected state, or very highly affected country as far as the sea level rise is concerned, because it is at a very low level in terms of its land mass situation or location. So both climate and non-climate diverse. So if we include the socio-economic changes with respect to that, then it becomes the non-climatic, and this has created the water stress condition in both water supply and demand. So supply and demand both are in a kind of stress condition as far as the water is concerned. Let us look at the detection and attribution of observed changes in Asia. So, here we have listed about 13 different attributions that are specifically observed or means in terms of or over Asia. Coming to the symbology, we have three types. You can see the evidence, agreement, and the confidence, and the size and the color of this. So you can see the size of this talks about in terms of low, medium, high, from low circle, from what you say smaller circle to a larger, and vice versa. So first one is heat wave. The examples in terms of India, Pakistan, and Central Eastern China since 1941 to 2015, the data says that these countries dominantly within Asia are influenced or are impacted by heat waves, and it is increasing day by day. The second is coastal urban flooding across Asia, specifically South Asia, and there are multiple. They belong to or they prolong over multiple duration, and all this in terms of evidence, agreement, and confidence you can see is very high for the upper four. Coming to the third one is biodiversity and habitat loss in East Asia. Observations from or since 1700 year 1700, everything is confirmed in terms of evidence, agreement, and confidence that there is biodiversity loss, perhaps mostly because of the habitat loss. The fourth point is the dust storm. A lot of dust storms are happening in terms of West Asia, Iran, Persian Gulf countries, and they persist over multiple durations. So these four are confirming in terms of high evidence, agreement, and confidence. Coming to the fifth one is the sea level rise. Only for the coastal studies, let's say Vietnam and Bangladesh. The sixth is the urban heat island effect in terms of the South Asia. India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and East Asia, and North Asia, all are experiencing this urban heat island effect. So what do you mean by urban heat island? We all know. So urban area, because of lot of civil constructions or the non-perforated surface gives rise to a kind of island effect in terms of heat. So lot of so that is why the urban area or the city area behave as an island of heat. So in comparison to the rest of the areas of the surrounding area where you have less constructed materials. So more of the soil or the earth is remaining uncovered or not covered by any of these construction materials. Now the seventh is permafrost thawing, particularly in North Asia. The wildfire, because of the rise in temperature, wildfire frequency is increasing, and because of this, the next one is extreme rainfall events in urban areas, particularly in India over Mumbai. Every year we are seeing this event of urban flooding. Also in Kolkata. So taking the name of two cities which we are seeing this over and over again in India, and so also the case is in Philippines. And then coming to the urban drought over multiple duration, it is persisting. The primary production in ocean, particularly over the Western Indian Ocean, is also altered. And then flood induced damages is happening, a lot of flood. So because of this change in the pattern, and also the permafrost melting, and also other related events or activities. And also this has started affecting the agricultural and food system. So if you see in terms of the primary production in ocean and the food induced flood induced damages, the evidence, agreement, and confidence are relatively low, and and that can also be seen from there. And all these are attributed in terms of temperature change, drought, precipitous regime, in terms of increase, decrease, sea level rise, oceanic warming or stratification, and climate change and interaction with human disturbances. Let us move on to understand the melting pattern in terms of glacier shrinkage or loss, mass loss, impact on food production, urban infrastructure, and diseases in Asia. The Asian glaciers are in are in minor area, so either shrinking or mass loss is happening, and climate change impact on food production is also have been seen over observed over different parts of the continent, Asian continent. The urban area, particularly the urban areas are considered as high risk, but also there are a lot of means what you say, these are also the site for ongoing adaptation. So a lot of adaptation methods or protocols are very fast getting adapted over the urban areas. So this climate change, we know that they lead to damage in infrastructure, but also they also affect the supply chain. So if we try to address this, then they provide opportunity to invest in climate resilient infrastructure, thereby generating the green jobs. The climate change is also increasing in terms of the vector-borne or waterborne diseases, undernutrition. So, and also the hazards are increasing, such as heat wave, floods, and droughts. So, this in combination with others are increasing the chance of exposure and vulnerability. Look at the example, as I mentioned in the very beginning of this lecture, that the Asian subcontinent hosts the third pole, we usually call the Himalaya, where the Mount Everest goes beyond 8.484 meter in terms of the peak. And over Asia, we have various types of risk, as you can see from the figure that is inset on the right hand side. We have the dust storms on the western side. We have heat waves also on the western side. We have the extreme rainfall events on the southern side. We have also sea level rise on the southern side. We also have the floods and affect our alteration in terms of agriculture on the eastern side, and biodiversity loss, heat wave, heat island, wildfire, and permafrost thawing. All these what we have discussed there are also available, are also mentioned or projected here. So let's move on to the understanding. We have a different color representation in terms of the baseline water stress. So the boundary there you can see which spreads over 13 different countries, the boundary of the Hindu Kush Himalaya, and over that we can realize that there are a lot of areas where the water stress is less in terms of less than 10%, 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and more than 80% in terms of extreme. If we focus on the northern states, particularly over the Uttarakhand and over the Jammu Kashmir and those regions, then we can very well understand that these areas are under a lot of stress, as are extreme high stress as far as water is concerned, and rest of the areas you can see accordingly. And in terms of the population size in the main cities, and we can see from the arrow mark, so in this we have tried to represent that this particular Hindu Kush Himalayan region is also having stress in terms of water, so water stress of various levels. Then coming to the projection, the projected impacts of climate change to agriculture and food systems. We have picked the examples over India and the cities and the regions. India as such, in terms of the commodity, temperature, precipitation and the impact, mostly the impact and the projected year. So, India, if you take the rice, wheat, pulses, coarse cereals, then the impact of production yield is in terms of decrease by 2.3% and 6.2% as far as the core cereals are concerned, and the projection is with respect to 2030 and 2050. So, if we go ahead with 2050, it has been projected that there will be loss in terms of production or decrease in terms of production yield. Look at the complexities. On the one hand, our population base is increasing, on the other hand, our production yield is projected to decrease. So, that's the cause of worry. And the second row talks about the western side, Rajasthan. Same for wheat, barley and maize. In terms of 1850, it has been projected to increase in terms of production. So, perhaps we need to move towards the waters, towards the crop that those crops then need less water to survive. So that can be inferred from here. And the third row, as far as rice and maize are concerned, with respect to this 10 to 30, 25 to 70% in terms of reduction will happen. And also for the northern and southern India, in terms of northern India, rice cultivation might increase as far as the 2030 projection. And for the southern India, there could be a decrease up to 17%, 12 to 17% as far as the rice is concerned. So, same way we can interpret for Bangladesh. So, this gives an impression that there are multiple both sides of this in terms of production yield, and so we have to be very sensitive as in terms of the plants, what we are going to, or the agriculture, what we are going to do, how much water they need, because we understand that there will be deficiency of water. So, we have to look forward towards those crops that need or sustain with lesser amount of water. Changes in migration and behavior aspects, particularly climate resilient development in Asia. So, so all these things actually is driving migration also over and across Asian continent, and it also leads to changes in the behavioral aspect. So, that is very important and particularly restricted to the agriculture and the disaster risk reduction domain. And options, particularly the climate smart agriculture, we need to adopt faster, and that is how we can fall in the pathway of a climate resilient development as far as Asia is concerned. Coming to what are the other specific things with respect to adaptation, as far as the Asia is concerned, energy sector is becoming increasingly crucial in over Asian region. The technology and innovation are of high importance for this region. So, more of the technology and innovation should be there, and usage and adoption should be there. And then the new concept of decentralized and self-reliant society, particularly circulating and ecological sphere CES, are emerging for integrated adaptive governance. It's very important. So, energy, technology, innovation and decentralized and self-reliant society. So, these things are very, very specific and important as far as the Asian region is concerned. We have, in terms of the adaptation related strategies in agriculture to enhance current and future adaptation. So, 6 points have been put here as far as the CSA is concerned. The climate sensitive or climate smart, we say climate smart agriculture. So, first one is create enabling policies, improve adaptation planning and decision making, promote science-based adaptation measures, adopt an integrated approach to improve adaptation, invest on critical infrastructure, and the sixth one is address farmers' adaptation barriers. So, if these are the various adaptation related strategies in agriculture to enhance current and future prospects in terms of adaptation. So, we need to work on this, and very specific they are very specific as far as the Asian region is concerned. Next is the risk, key risk and adaptation options. So as far as the risk versus the adaptation over the cities, the key risk and the progresses. So progresses is a good news and a risk that to be countered. Let us focus on the two cities over two Indian cities and one city over Bangladesh, over the means from Bangladesh over the South Asian region. So observed and projected as far as 2020 and 2035 is concerned. So the population increase in terms of thousands of people. We have increase in all. So we can see with respect to 2020 and 2035. So observation is matching with projection, and more of that means all these three cities, Ahmedabad, Mumbai and Dhaka, are going to be thicker in and as far as the population is concerned. Key risk over the cities, over these selected species, flood. Yes, Mumbai, we have given example. Ahmedabad not there, but Dhaka is also periodically flooding. Sea level rise applicable to both the coastal cities, Mumbai and Dhaka, and then it is not applicable to Ahmedabad. The urban heat island concept, all these are applicable more or a very highly applicable over the Ahmedabad city, whereas lesser or minimal or low for the Mumbai and medium for Dhaka. So extreme rain not applicable for Ahmedabad, minimum for Mumbai and moderate for the Dhaka. Drought water scarcity situation is also not applicable for both the Indian cities and medium for the Dhaka, and permafrost and all these things is not applicable over none of these three. As far as the progress is concerned, institutional, infrastructure, ecosystem based and behavioral based. So here we can see as far as the Ahmedabad is concerned, institutional progress is well, and it is very less or no data kind of thing for Mumbai, and medium for Dhaka, and medium as far as the infrastructure is concerned for all three, and behavioral changes has been already noticed in Ahmedabad, but for other two cities there is not much of information, even if the ecosystem based things are also there in terms of medium level for Ahmedabad. So what we understand with respect to this in terms of the key risk and the progress vary over the cities based on their location, based on the governance, based on the adaptability pattern and the people mindset. So all these are very key factors to overcome the risk, thereby addressing the various options that are in hand. Effectiveness of select adaptation options in cities. So what are the options in terms of the adaptations? So coming to Shanghai, they have been constructing the sea walls, the sponge city in Guangzhou, the greening of Kuala Lumpur, KL city. So you can see lot of greening activities is going on in terms of rooftop, in terms of the city, within city, the open area everywhere. And coming to the Jakarta, Indonesia. So you have the Great Garud Sea Dike. So dike kind of what you say construction are there as far as Jakarta is concerned. Then Bangladesh Delta Plan for Dhaka is in planning, and coastal zone regulation for Mumbai, heat action plan for Ahmedabad city, legislation to reduce season heat exposure for Riyadh, and thermophones for Sheikhat. So these are the various options or means effectiveness of selected adaptation options as far as selected cities are concerned. So what is clearly take home from here is that various cities are suffered from various types of various extreme weather events or risk or impact. So they have they have come out with one or the other kind of plans to adapt, to overcome those situations. So there are enablers and barriers. It's never free from any kind of all these kind of climate adaptations do face barriers, and there are also enablers. So let us see the dominant one in terms of the governance and planning. So the national policy directives to adapt is an enabler, because for example, strong national climate commitments in China, India and Thailand, and dedicated public-private councils on climate change in Seoul or Republic of Korea. Then the second one, as far as the enabler, is participating planning, co-producing solutions and engaging multiple stakeholders. For example, Surat and Guwahati in India. Then devolving decision making, to city governments, and strong political leadership helps to institutionalize adaptive programs. So we need to be engaged with the city governments and the political leadership, so that, for example, in terms of in Moscow, where the city mayor has spearheaded the climate action. So these are the enablers, the examples coming from various cities across the continent, from China, India, Thailand, and Republic of Korea, and from various parts of India as far as the participatory approach is concerned, and also Moscow, Russia, where the city mayor is spearheading the climate action. Such a coalition or the cooperation between the city government and the political leadership. But they don't go free or barrier free. So low accountability and transparency in planning is one of the important or greatest barrier you can see. Of the 180 urban adaptation interventions across Asia, 60% are reactive in nature. So we have to work on that, because that will miss an opportunity in terms of risk preparedness and prevention. So they cannot be, or they should be as minimal as possible in terms of their reactive nature. The third is lack of forward looking learning oriented processes. So we need to always have a forward looking and learning oriented processes, and these all constant in terms of the governance and planning as far as the barrier and enablers are concerned. So this has been picked from chapter 10 of this working group 2 report, and you can use this reference to learn more about our situation over Asia in terms of the risk, impacts, observations, projections, and various adaptation options we have. So we discussed all these 6 points in detail. Thank you very much for your patience listening.